The Red Fort explosion that's completely shook the national capital. Top intel sources to ANI have now shared key insights into the widening probe and the intensified crackdown. The Red Fort blast following the initial investigations. Let us break that down for you one by one. It was not a suicide attack. Sources have confirmed that this was not a suicide attack. The suspect is believed to have triggered the explosion in panic whilst attempting to flee. Now, what was the suspect fleeing from is another question that comes to light. Preliminary reports and investigations suggest that the bomb was premature and not fully developed. That could be a big point here, which significantly reduced its impact. Fortunately, investigators found no crater or shrapnel or outward projections from that particular bomb at the blast site. The car was still moving. It was slowly inching towards the red light near the Red Fort. That particular signal is what the commissioner also told us yesterday. The explosion occurred right then when the car was slowly inching towards the red light. So it's not a suicide bombing. It was a premature explosion and detonation. It was a premature improvised explosive device, which is why the impact wasn't as severe as what the forensic report now suggests. Sources are also telling us, and we're picking up, that the suspect may have acted in a haste. Mind you, all across yesterday, right from UP, Haryana to Jammu and Kashmir, a massive counter-terrorism success vis-a-vis the unearthing and the expose of that very sophisticated and, mind you, very dangerous radicalization and indoctrination white-collar ecosystem that came to light. Fearing imminent arrest, I think the suspect has acted in a haste, is what the sources are telling us, after raids across Delhi-NCR and Pulwama that recovered large cache of explosives from the linked networks. We're talking about Jaish-e-Mohammed, we're talking about Anwar Ghazwatul Hind, and importantly, the suspect did not follow the typical pattern of a suicide car bombing, which means there was no ramming into a particular target or a deliberate collision point where it happened. The major attack has been averted, is what we're picking up after the first few initial intel reports have now come out into the public domain. Maybe might have been released surreptitiously, but pan-India raids averted this particular attack. With me on the broadcast, input editor Brijesh Pandey, who joins us. Brijesh, latest details that are now coming, and hour after hour, shocking details that are throwing new twists and turns into this entire white-collar ecosystem that has been unearthed. All right, I'm being told we're soon going to be with Brijesh. Intel sources are telling us that the blast was directly linked to the Faridabad module, the Al-Falah University, where already today several extra detentions have taken place. The authorities are at the moment trying to assess whether all these quote-unquote doctors, we're calling them terror doctors, Dr. Shaheen, Dr. Umair, were they in cahoots with their handlers in Pakistan? When was the last message that came through? And what was the role of the Al-Falah University Charitable Trust? 40 to 30 lakh rupees of terror funding when the money trail is being examined. It is under lens. The probing authorities are definitely looking at that as well. And it has direct linkages to Dr. Shaheen and her residence in Lucknow, to both of these terror doctors. And the biggest question is, how far and entrenched is this indoctrination? Is this radicalization? These are doctors, these are faculty members at the Al-Falah University. God knows how many students and youngsters were in direct contact, in touch with them. And what's more is that Dr. Shaheen Shahid, the female doctor, a friend of Dr. Umair, part of the faculty member again at Al-Falah University, which again, the probing agencies now looking at it very seriously, whether the laboratory facilities at the university were being used to cook up and muster and rummage these explosive devices, sophisticated advanced explosive devices, nearly 3,000 kgs of explosives that have been recovered between the last 48 hours, at least 2,900 on the 10th of November alone, 350 kilograms of ammonium nitrate, and this could have been ammonium nitrate fuel oil that could have been used for this explosion. We'll have to get our hands on the exact FSL copy to get a clear understanding of that, but the pan-India raids unnerved the attackers is what the sources are telling us. And because of those raids and the major crackdown, which continued in on today as well, synchronized effort with the Jammu and Kashmir police, the Haryana police and the UP police coming together as well. All right, Brijesh Pandey with us on the broadcast here. Brijesh, latest details is certainly raising eyebrows, and the biggest question is, if this wasn't a suicide attack and the suspect was fleeing, who was he fleeing from is another big question. But what are the latest details? Help the viewers. Over to you.
Well, what we've been given to understand by intel sources is that this was not a suicide attack, and what they're saying is that the suspect triggered an explosion in panic. Now, the bomb was premature, not fully developed, thus limiting the impact. And the important question, which was being asked ever since the explosion took place was that why it did not create a crater, and why no shrapnel or projectiles were found. Now, with these findings, it is becoming a lot more clearer as to why exactly this has happened, because it was not a fully developed, and it was a premature bomb. That is the reason why the impact was limited and didn't create any crater, and no shrapnel or projectile were found. Now, the thing is that, one of the reasons why the intelligence agencies are assuming that it's not a suicide attack and it has been triggered an explosion in panic is because usually when you see a suicide attack, it is far more coordinated, far more deathly in the outcome. And usually you say that, either you ram the car into a target or collide intentionally, or you, make sure that you park your vehicle in a position where the impact of the explosion is going to be the maximum. None of the above mentioned, things were there as far as this particular blast is concerned. And what many believe is the reason why they are going forward this triggering this explosion in panic is the fact that the last 3-4 days, a lot of pressure was exerted on the entire gang by the intelligence agencies, by the police of J&K police, by Haryana police, and the fact that 3,000 kilo of explosive materials was recovered by them. 2 or 3 very key crucial members of their gang were arrested by the J&K police and Haryana police. So there was definitely a pressure on the person concerned who exploded this bomb, and the chances of it being in panic looks more likely, because otherwise, if a person who was in complete senses and without any panic would have caused a much larger damage than what we saw day before yesterday.